Olivia Bennett was a strong and successful woman. She owned many luxury hotels, but she had started with nothing. Through hard work, she built a name for herself in the business world. Even though she was rich, she never forgot the importance of good service. She wanted every guest to feel welcome in her hotels. That's why today she decided to visit one of her biggest hotels without telling anyone who she was. She wanted to see how the staff treated guests when they didn't know the owner was watching. It didn't take long to get her answer. Before continuing to the story, please don't forget to like and subscribe to us for more interesting stories. Olivia adjusted her blazer as she walked into the big fancy hotel. This was her hotel, but no one knew that. She had just arrived to check if her staff treated guests well. As she walked to the front desk, the receptionist barely looked at her. Instead, he smirked and said, "Ma'am, this hotel is too expensive for you." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Too expensive," she thought. Before she could answer, the manager walked over. He looked her up and down and said, "We have a reputation to keep." Olivia smiled to herself. They had no idea who she was, but soon they would regret everything. Olivia stayed quiet for a moment, watching the two men. The receptionist went back to his computer, ignoring her. The manager stood with his arms crossed, waiting for her to leave. She took a deep breath. She had worked hard to build this hotel. She was not going to be pushed aside so easily. "I'd like to book a suite," she said calmly. The receptionist barely looked up. "We don't have any rooms for you," he said. Then he glanced at her simple but elegant outfit and added, "Maybe try the hotel down the street." Olivia's anger burned inside her, but she stayed calm. This was not the first time she had been judged unfairly. "So you're saying there are no suites available?" she asked. The manager stepped forward. "That's correct. We have certain standards here." Olivia tilted her head. "Certain standards?" He smiled tightly. "Maybe next time. Call ahead." She chuckled and shook her head. "And what if I told you I could afford any room in this hotel?" The manager's face hardened. "Ma'am, we don't need to waste any more time here." Olivia tightened her grip on her purse. Their arrogance was almost funny. Almost. She pulled out her phone and sent a message. Moments later, the hotel doors swung open. A sharply dressed man in a navy blue suit walked in. His presence commanded attention. "Miss Bennett," he said warmly, shaking her hand. "We weren't expecting you so soon." The manager's face turned pale. The receptionist looked like he wanted to disappear. The man in the suit turned to them. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Eric Dawson, Regional Director of Bennett Luxury Hotels, and you are speaking to the owner of this hotel." A heavy silence filled the room. The manager swallowed hard. "Miss Bennett, I didn't know." Olivia raised a hand, stopping him. "No, you didn't. That much is clear." She could feel the shift in the room. Employees whispered, sneaking nervous glances. Eric stepped forward. "Is this how you treat our guests?" His voice was calm but firm. "No, sir. Of course not. This was just a misunderstanding." The manager stammered. Olivia arched an eyebrow. "A misunderstanding?" The receptionist's hands trembled. I just assumed." Olivia finished his sentence smoothly. "You assumed I didn't belong here?" The receptionist's face turned white. He looked down in shame. The manager opened his mouth, but Olivia was already dialing a number. "Security," she said simply. The manager's eyes widened in horror. The receptionist gasped. Seconds later, two security guards entered. "Escort these two to my office," Olivia instructed. "We need to have a discussion." The manager was sweating now. "Miss Bennett, please. I can explain." "You will," she said. "In my office." She walked toward the elevator. They had no choice but to follow. The elevator ride was silent. The manager and receptionist stood stiffly beside her, clearly nervous. When the doors opened, they stepped into her grand office. The room had floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city skyline. Everything was sleek, modern, and expensive. The manager hesitated at the door. He had just refused to give a room to the woman who owned this entire hotel. "Sit," Olivia said. They obeyed immediately. She studied them for a long moment before speaking. "Explain." she said calmly. The manager cleared his throat. Miss Bennett, I made a terrible mistake. I judged you unfairly. Olivia tilted her head. And if I wasn't the owner? If I had been someone else? The manager had no answer. He looked down ashamed. The receptionist finally whispered, We were wrong. Completely wrong. Olivia nodded. You were, and what do you think happens next? The manager's voice cracked. I don't know. Olivia tapped her nails on the desk. I do. She opened a drawer and pulled out 2 envelopes. She placed them on the table. The manager hesitated before picking his up. His face turned pale as he read the words inside. The receptionist opened his envelope and gasped. Termination. Effective immediately. Miss Bennett, please. The manager started. Olivia raised a hand. This isn't about me. It's about every guest you've ever treated unfairly. You do not represent what this hotel stands for. The receptionist looked like he wanted to beg, but he saw the resolve in her eyes. There was no changing her mind. Security will escort you out, she said. As security led them out, Olivia barely noticed. She had dealt with people like them before. People who thought they had power but never really did. Her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant, Mark. Media requests are coming in. Everyone's talking about what happened. Olivia smirked. Of course they were. News spread fast when people in power made big mistakes. She typed back, Prepare a statement. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Mark peeked in. You have a visitor, he said. An older man walked in. His salt and pepper hair was neatly combed, and his suit was perfectly tailored. Miss Bennett, he said smoothly, shaking her hand. I'm Richard Lawson, owner of the Lawson Hotel Group. I want you to run my entire East Coast division. Olivia stayed silent. This was huge. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Mark. Social media is calling it the ultimate power move. Olivia smirked. Good, let it spread.